This just does not exist in the market. I need cases now that are very low cost. That does not exist in the market, right? And so if you are in the I need cases now mentality and you need to make a high margin on those cases, you are in a world of hurt because there is no marketing channel available to you.
Welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing, teaching you how to promote, market, and make fat stacks for your legal practice. Here on Legal Talk Network.
Welcome to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing. I'm Conrad Som from Mockingbird, and I love wearing flip-flops.
That's great. It's flip-flop season. And I'm Gyi from Attorney Sync, and I totally blanked on what my unique thing is because now I'm thinking of Conrad walking around in flip-flops. But I, too, love flip-flops. We'll say I've solved the future.
I love flip-flops, and I've solved the future. Okay, well done. You one-up me this time. Wait till next week.
Well, you're about to one-up me now because you, my friend, are saving people from bears.
Well, saving is that's an extreme overstatement, but yes,
wrestling bears. You're wrestling them.
Wrestling bears. So yesterday,
do you think you could beat a bear? Could you beat a bear in a wrestling match?
I could beat a bear in SEO or a shark.
Depends on the bear.
Maybe. No, yesterday, 1:30 ish, we got a page out for a injured hiker on a local mountain, a very, very popular, it's probably one of the top 2 or 3 local hikes in the Seattle area. And on the way to I'm super grateful that I have my own business because I looked at my calendar and I had enough meetings that I could move. So I was like, great, I'll go help. And I got all my stuff together. And on the way in, we got warnings that it was actually a bear attack, and they're very uncommon, but we went in and evacuated, and there were 3 people ultimately who needed help getting out. So yeah, I mean,
I just can't help but thinking it's like the scene in The Revenant, and you're fighting a bear, and the bear's on top of you, and you've got your sidearm there defending yourself from this bear. Like, wow, what a weekend.
Well, it's not that dramatic. I mean, one of the interesting things that I've learned about this search and rescue game is a lot of it is very mundane. A lot of it's sitting around we waited to make sure that it was okay to go up. There's a lot of coordination. You're just like a little cog in the wheel and you just do your job. And it was great. It was good. I really enjoy this, helping people like this, because it gets me outside and it's a whole different like expertise set, and it's a whole different level of responsibility because, as you know, and every business owner listening to this, the only thing a business owner ever has to do is answer all of the questions that no one else has been able to figure out. And so you have to make those decisions in search and rescue situation. Like, you are assigned a job, you're a cog in a wheel, and someone else is making the hard decisions. Someone else has been really trained on, rescue, and you just do your one job and you do it as well as you can. It doesn't matter what that is. I spent part of yesterday.
Until Mr. Musk replaces you with robots, it is pretty much doing what the bots cannot.
That is correct.
In addition to wrestling bears and pandering to our sponsors by wearing beautiful Lawmatics hats, what else are we talking about today?
So we're going to tell you how to spend a $100,000 marketing budget. And this is philosophical, but it's really, really important to think through the prioritization of how to spend a $100,000 marketing budget. And then we're going to answer a user question about his involvement in a local event.
Let's do the news.
All right, Gyi, we have new data coming out from seranking.com about a core algo update. And interestingly and bluntly, I didn't see this. I didn't think we were going to continue to swing in this direction. Reddit continues to be up. If you don't have a Reddit astroturfing strategy right now, you are being left behind. And interestingly also, YouTube down. Reddit up, YouTube down. I would not have predicted that. That was not on my cards. I thought we've maybe swung a little too hard on the Reddit side, but apparently not yet.
It's funny. It feels like in this citation economy, we've got like the citation stock ticker every week of what citation sources are up and what are down. And I would encourage folks also to take it with a little bit of grain of salt. Remember, this research is published across many categories. What's happening in your neck of the AI SERPs might not reflect this data, but I think directionally it's good to keep your eyes peeled about, what citation sources are being cited by the machines.
And to that point,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I know this is the news segment. We keep like hijacking news for tactical thoughts.
You're a big talker.
I like to talk. This is true. The importance of knowing how things change over time and that things change over time highlights the importance of actually being in a lot of different places at the same time, right? And continuing that kind of overall tactical approach. Let's go back to your next news segment.
And in other news, Case Status has dropped its legal client experience report. And there's a lot of great information there. You can go, we'll provide the link to the download. But one thing that I wanted to call out from the report is it's one of their 5 key findings. 74% of clients reported being satisfied with their legal outcome, but only 41% of them would recommend their legal team, meaning that 3 out of 4, almost 75%, are like, the outcome was actually good, but less than half say that they would actually recommend the team that handled the outcome. Now, some of the lawyers are going to react to that and be like, well, that's because, this is a very hard time. And, even though they might have their expectations might have been properly managed to outcomes, they're going to reflect poorly on the lawyers because they think that they should have done better or something. Now, the report suggests that it has to do with satisfaction, and whether it's not just the job getting done, but how you're getting it done. And, we've talked about hospitality and service and client experience, and I think that matters. But I think that's an important thing for people to keep in mind in the marketing context, that, just advertising great outcomes doesn't necessarily lead to positive sentiment in Google reviews.
And while we're talking about Case Status and we're pandering to Lawmatics, we're going to pander a little bit to Case Status and remind everyone that the speakers at the Case Status CX Summit, highly curated, selected, and separate from sponsorship dollars. One of the dings that the legal marketing industry and the conference industry has had recently, and increasingly so, is the extent of pay to pitch talks from the stage. And it's really important to I think both you and me, Gyi, that we find venues where it is not just a pay to pitch, and the Case Status, it's literally separate on their applications. You can apply to be a sponsor, you can apply to be a speaker. Those two things are not correlated. So hats off to Case Status at the CX Summit. Have they accepted your speaking pitch yet, Gyi?
They have not, and I believe that I was politely turned down to speak, but we still salute and applaud their good works. And again, I've always liked what they're up to over there, because they really do put client experience at the center of the solution that they solve for law firms. And it's still a massive issue, as this report indicates, and as many Google Business Profile testimonial section indicates. So find ways to improve that client experience. And finally, in other news, we're going to give a tip of the cap to Microsoft, because they have added new AI visibility insights in Bing Webmaster Tools. Conrad has his Bing shirt on. Conrad was at the launch party for Bing, as I understand, but that will be a episode for another day. But I wanted to call this out because, in contrast to what Google has given us in Search Console, Bing's AI visibility insights are seemingly somewhat more robust, with intense topics, citation share. And I think for me, this idea of showing the actual topics, again, who cares what the impressions are if you have no clue what the topics that those impressions are relevant to? So I think that's a tool for folks to check out that are, the do-it-yourselfers that want to kind of get a sense. And if you want to hold your agency accountable for visibility in Bing, that's a tool that they should be talking about too.
All right. If you are watching us on YouTube, please like, subscribe, keep the conversation going, leave a comment. We will answer your questions on the pod if they are good questions. And we're going to be talking later on after the break on how to spend $100,000. I suggest you listen to another episode called How Much Marketing is Enough?
Let's take a break. And we're back. And we are going to answer this question about how to spend $100,000 on marketing wisely. And this came up. So I was recently down in Fairfax. Charlie Mann hosted a networking mastermind meeting gathering. It was awesome. Great folks there. But we were going around the room and, we started talking. I was talking about some of the things that we do at Attorney Sync. And folks will say things like, all right, I got this amount of money to spend. What should I spend it on? And their expectation tends to be like, should I do SEO? Should I do PPC? There's a lot of these false dichotomies between brand and non-brand. And so we thought it might be useful to talk about this, about frameworks for how to spend money, and really, at the risk of saying the obvious, how much to spend. And I know we brought this up before, but in the Best Era community, a Facebook ad was being floated around that seemed to reflect suggestions about overall spending by different categories. And I'll leave it to you to decide if you want to reveal the
You leave it to me?
Folks. Yeah, I'll leave it to you.
Well, this is brought to you by our good friends at our worthy rivals, as Gyi likes to call them, from SMB team.
Okay.
You want the percentages?
Describe what we're looking at here on the whiteboard.
So we've got a whiteboard of a breakdown of a law firm's spend. And they're calling for 20% of your revenue to be spent on client acquisition, 40% to be spent on basically what I will call operating costs, your team, technology, infrastructure, facilities, etc. 10% on what is called answers. We're going to come back to that, leaving 30% profit. My first question on this is, what the hell is Answers? Turns out that Answers is SMB team's product. So they're recommending that you spend 10% of your revenue on coaching, I think it is. But the thing here, 20% on client acquisition. Gyi, I think your exposure to this was often talking to a lot. So in the context of our $100,000 firm, okay, that's $500,000 in revenue, right? That's a $500,000 revenue firm. 20%.
You're saying if we spent $100,000 as 20%, it's a $500,000
That's
firm.
a $500,000 firm. Yeah.
Got it. So you're spending 100 on 500.
Yeah. So you're a small firm, right? I think one of the interesting things with our $100,000, how do you spend it, is it's not a very big budget, Gyi. And I think if I recall correctly, your exposure to the chat about these graphics here, a lot of people were like, hey, you know what? Our budget should actually be about 5 to 10% on marketing. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think some responses suggested that 20% client acquisition was high.
If you're trying to take over a market in personal injury, 20% is low. You are going to fail at being a top 3 in your market at 20%. That is just a fact.
You're going to have a really hard time in a major market for sure.
And you have, the other thing is, you have a lot of marketing channels that you have crossed off your list because the cost of acquisition.
Well, I think this is the more interesting part of the conversation, right?
Okay.
So some lawyers will say, they call you up. I need cases now, Conrad. I need cases now.
Okay.
I've listened to the podcast and I've heard that PPC, LSAs, direct response, I've heard that those ads go up. The phone starts ringing now. That's the fastest, high intent, fastest way to cases. So I'm going to choose that. So we're going to say, I want to spend $100,000, 100% of my marketing budget on direct response because I need cases now.
The answer to the I need cases now actually is direct response. The problem with direct response is it generates cases now, which is what everybody wants. So it's a very expensive marketing channel. And so what you can't have, this just does not exist in the market. I need cases now that are very low cost. That does not exist in the market, right? And so if you are in the I need cases now mentality and you need to make a high margin on those cases, you are in a world of hurt because there is no marketing channel available to you.
But let's really hold us accountable. So I got $100,000. I'm a $500,000 top line law firm. Maybe I don't need 100% of my, I don't need all of my cases next month. Maybe that's part of this too, is we got to talk about like some time horizons. So I've got, it's an annual marketing spend. So at least give me 12 months, right? So it's like over the next 12 months. And I would still be like, you should be heavily invested in relationship, networking, reputation. Maybe you start some digital brand building. And even though it might not put money or put fees in the win column for you in February of that year, you know what? I wouldn't be shocked if after 12 months of doing that, you're going to see some upticks in referrals. I mean, let's hope that you've already have some existing relationships and referral sources you can advertise to. But that would be, this is the trap to me. This is the trap. This is why there's musical chairs on all non-brand direct response channels in terms of, agencies and all this kind of stuff, because it's short-term thinking and it causes firms to be stuck in the, we're stuck with Google. Like 100% of our cases come from Google, and we're just going to keep doubling down on Google. And by the way, we are beholden to any algorithmic change, platform change, switch to AI, yada, 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 that we've talked about a million times. It just doesn't, you wouldn't do this with your own personal portfolio. You wouldn't day trade crypto stocks with 100% of the money that you're going to invest. I don't know why you would do it in this context.
So I remember Bill Gurley, I believe he was with Benchmark Capital. He was one of the early board members at Avo, really pushed back against, and I believe he called it the heroin of pay-per-click.
The heroin of pay-per-click.
The getting addicted to business generated through this paid platform. So I think that's really important. I think you're totally right, Gyi. If you put a 12-month horizon on this,
right.
And you deliver not a good product, not a good legal product. We talked about this the other day. Like, I actually genuinely don't care. I do, but like from a marketing perspective, it doesn't matter if you deliver good lawyering or not. Do you deliver good to great service? Okay.
Well, just think about it. Let's go back to it. Let's just reiterate what we said earlier in the news. That's exactly what the case status report essentially says.
That's
3 out of 4 consumers are happy with their result. Less than half are happy with their legal services.
And that's the problem so I'm going to presume that you have solved that problem. The best dollars to spend, if you have at least a 12-month horizon, are making sure all of the people who are in your world, LinkedIn, email lists, your CRM, your social network, your newsletter list, all of those elements, that they never forget about you. And I will tell you, it is amazingly easy to forget about a service provider. And so
yes,
I think it is really important to go out of your way. We talk about the first $1,000 to spend. You've got a $100,000 budget. I can't come up with a good reason why the first money that you spend, whether you are in massive growth mode or I'm trying to keep the lights on until I retire mode, is not spent in just keeping your brand awareness, if not affinity, but your brand awareness in front of the people who already have an experience with you, assuming they already like you, right? Assuming they already like you. Don't be the restaurant that advertises to people who you've given food poisoning to.
Yeah, we're going to say we're not counting any of, so that goes into your 40%, right? Service delivery and client experience. We're going to put that in the other buckets. This is 20% straight up acquisition number, $100,000. And again, and this is the thing that Jay Ruane talks about this in his book too. So give a shout out to Jay, who will be at Lunch Hour Legal Marketing Summit, for a quick plug there.
Good plug.
But you've got to compare the $100,000 invested in paid search to $100,000 in gifting to referrals, to giving people tickets to sporting events, to all the other things that are going to stand out to somebody in terms of like, hey, you know what? That person actually cared about me. They're actually, investing in the local community. whatever, all that stuff. Some people divided analog and digital. I don't think there's necessarily the lines are as clean as that, but staying top of mind to your point that you already said, to the people who already know, like, and trust you, so that they think about you in that key moment when someone in their world needs the kind of help that you provide. They're thinking of you, because otherwise you're stuck.
There's an inverse relationship between ROI and volume. And what I mean by that is the cheapest cases to acquire, there aren't a lot of them. But, and I think this is your mega point here, you should put as much of your marketing budget to that group as you possibly can, because they have a low cost per. And however, if you are a top 3 in the market kind of firm, you cannot ignore the marketing channels that represent 20, 30, 40% of the market. You just cannot ignore that group, because otherwise your market size is much lower. It means that you need to be able to generate cases at a reasonable cost. And it means that you need to be able to turn those leads into cases at a really high rate. But that's the trade-off, the inverse relationship between ROI and volume.
Let's try to be really accountable here and say, okay, great. You guys shared a lot of great context, great thoughts. Gyi and Conrad, I got $100,000 to spend over the next 12 months. Walk me through my first, I don't know if you want to do in $5,000 increments or $10,000 increments, but your first $5,000, your first $10,000. And remember, this is annual. So divide it by 12 if you want to get monthly. Maybe we do $10,000 increments, just because you're going to divide by 12, you're going to be less than $1,000 a month.
Well, I would start by the size of my database and website traffic.
Okay.
Because that has a big impact on how much money I spend on two separate things.
$2,000 contacts in my database.
You have 2,000
mix
contacts.
Of former clients, professional
Yep.
network, blah, blah, blah. All the things that you said. People in my periphery.
I'm doing math really quickly in my head here.
Sure.
You can stay in front of that database for $10,000 that year. And not just in front of that database, but like very much in front of that database.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's
how much money you want to go? How much money you want to allocate to it? 1,000 a month, 500 a month. I mean, the software alone is going to be. I mean, if you're depending on what you're using, but I guess tech's not in this bucket, right? This is just acquisition. This is just either paying somebody to do the emails. You can always do it yourself, but let's assume you're not doing this stuff, right?
It's not emails. So this is just pure advertising. I'm going to stay in front of you.
Okay.
I'm going to allocate $10,000 just to stay in front of you. Okay.
So that's going to be database. How are you going to database market? Just database advertise here? Because you're probably not with 2,000 contacts. Do you have a sufficient number of
you do now
contacts for first party audience?
You do now, and that number has gotten a lot smaller. I believe that minimum threshold is 500 now that you can run through Google.
Okay,
you're looking this up to validate, which is totally fair. But I would 100% do that. Okay, so newsletter. Again, I'm leaning on this data. So we're staying with this very, very finite number of people. I would run a newsletter, and I would run that your budget for hitting that audience every week with new content, interesting content. We did a thing on newsletters, I think 2 episodes ago, right? How to do the importance of the newsletter from a pure brand perspective. You're at $1,700 on that newsletter. Let's round that up to 20. So we've now spent $30,000, right? Just staying in touch with 2,000 people. Okay.
Exactly.
That is a really big investment on a very, very small number of people that will pay off more than anything else that you do.
It's 30% of your marketing budget.
30%, just to stay in front of that group.
Yep. And I would say that sounds pretty good.
Okay.
I might even throw some like gifting type things in there.
Okay. So let's put in so we're up to 30 grand. Let's say we spend another $10,000 pandering
perfect
to this group. So $10,000 on 2,000 people, that's $50 per person on average.
Yep.
Okay. And I wouldn't do this on average.
Yeah, and
but
maybe you're not sending all 2,000 of those people a gift.
That's right.
But maybe you've got some key referral sources. Maybe there's some other lawyers that are, regularly get asked, or like they're non-competitive lawyers that refer you cases. Maybe there's some professionals that tend to be able to refer you. Anyway, it's people that are in your referral network that you're going to send gifts to. So now you're up to 40%. So 40% is
you're 40
on
grand
essentially,
2,000 people. Okay.
Yep.
Now,
Okay.
I'm going to add to your gifting. Okay. I actually want to send that referral thank you gift to non-lawyers.
Right.
The referral
Yes.
thank you gift to lawyers. So the gifting we were talking about earlier is like, here's we've done this chocolates at local chocolates at the chocolatier on Valentine's Day, something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do the Christmas gift, the holiday season gift. We've done ad nauseum podcasts on that, but find ways to gift that's kind of exceptional. And then I would also give the thank you gift. Okay.
Yeah.
And what you're really trying to do here, I will call this out for what it is. I'm not sure we can say this to the legal marketing world. You are bribing people to continue sending you business. Okay. You are. Let's call that out for what it is. Okay.
I think look, you can call it whatever you want. I think it's acknowledging and being grateful for people who are thinking about you and sending you business. You want to call it bribes, fine.
You would do well in the Trump White House, my friend.
Well, it's a difference because it's not. I don't think it's a quid pro quo, right? I don't think it's quid pro quo like a bribe is. Like a bribe is like, I'm only going to pay you if you send me this referral, and I think that they're sending you the referrals anyway. You're just saying thanks.
Yeah.
But it's so key to nurture the relationship. Again, you might say, look, maybe I don't need $10,000 again, because we're just trying to go through like how you'd spend the money. The point is, whatever, maybe you're taking people out to dinner. Maybe you're doing a nice referral partners networking event, or a nice referral partners happy hour, or whatever it is. You're saying thank you and acknowledging and investing. And by the way, you're getting, ideally, in my opinion, get together with people in person, go to dinner. If you, I don't know if at these numbers that you've got the suite at the local sporting event box, but if you do, then you're taking people to sporting events. You're taking people out, showing them a good time, building the relationship, experiential, stuff together. I think that's the miss at a lot of these things, and it doesn't have to be that expensive. It really doesn't.
So we're gonna put 10 grand into referral gifting and 10 grand into events, networking events, thank yous, etc.
I'd say 20,000 to thanking the people who are sending us business is how I would break it down.
So now we're down to $40,000 left of our 20% of our revenue budget. Okay.
And now we're going to get into where the rubber really meets the road, right?
Well, hold on. I got one other obvious one. We're going to spend, and it depends what our website traffic looks like. We're going to spend $10,000 on retargeting. I don't think you're going to be able to spend that much. If you are a small firm like that, you probably don't have. But why do we say retargeting? The retargeting is the assist to make sure that you don't lose that prospective client. You can also do this with a newsletter. Like we talked about this the other day. You can have the ongoing newsletter that's what's going on in the business, blah, 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 what's going on in the community. But you can also have that newsletter that is, it's a drip campaign with a finite number, like what it's like to work with us, how to be, it is intended to turn a prospect into a client. So I think the retargeting and turn, like, this is the final assist, retargeting newsletters. You drop 10 grand on that. That's money very well spent. Now we're down to $30,000, Gyi. And so I'm curious what you would spend your final $30,000 on. I've got a candidate. Is it SEO?
No.
Why?
Maybe I would say this. Maybe it's. I'm a lot of issues with SEO, but this firm is probably. So I think the first filter that we need to qualify is: does this firm have a competitive number of reviews? Because if they don't have a competitive number. Okay. If they don't have let's just say, so let's do the no reviews example, or I don't have competitive number of reviews example. LSAs and SEO look like this. LSAs, I'm like probably don't even waste your, maybe you can set it up, I guess, because it doesn't hurt, but you're not going to spend. SEO, I would be like, should you have like some basic blocking and tackling maintenance stuff going on? Like, should you have a GBP profile? Like you should. Is that SEO? Like, not the way people think about SEO.
Sure.
Should you be doing like some local content marketing? I mean, this isn't SEO necessarily, but hey, I'm going to spend some time and money doing YouTube videos. Like, what do you call that? YouTube shows up in search results, it shows up in citations, that kind of thing. Maybe you're doing, if you can do content creation, like maybe that's I think is my answer, is that forgetting about SEO, I would invest the remainder of that money into content creation and distribution.
I like your Google Business Profile question and reviews. That was one of the first things, but we're talking about $30,000. You're not going to go anywhere with $30,000 in SEO. You're just not.
Well, not again in the way that you're. So this is what's important, because we say that, and you're thinking you're not going to compete with bottom of the funnel, high volume, high intent head terms in any major market for that. And I agree with you.
Correct.
Does that mean though, like that you're not going to have when people search on your name, want to call it brand SEO? SEO?
No. I have two possibilities for this remaining $30,000. One is what I will call vetting. If someone looks for who you are, what is their experience? Are there, and that can include Google Business Profile. In fact, it frequently does include
Lawyers of Distinction Trophy.
Lawyers of Distinction Trophy, your Avo profile, like these are all things that may show up for your name. Understand what shows up for your name and what that experience is. Understand how competitive your name is. Are you, Bill Smith, the attorney, or are you, Gyi Takilakis, the attorney, right? Completely different issues. So there's a vetting process and influencing the results when people are looking for you. Talk about the best way to spend money, making sure that they receive a very, very positive experience. And the other one, which you touched on quickly, is I would think about whether or not it makes sense to open an office or move an office to a place where my review count actually is competitive. And that new office, that is a marketing expenditure. The lease for that office is a marketing expenditure. But is there a way in your geographic market to find a place where there is a reasonable volume of people, there are no lawyers nearby, and you can start generating business, not a ton of business because it's going to be a small market, on 10 reviews, right? Or 15 reviews. That's what I would look for.
Yeah, I think it's this is why this is the fun part of this question, is I think it's that last $30,000, $20,000, $10,000. What do you do with it? I think because again, the off the cuff is going to be, that's the budget that you're going to try to use to get some cases. You're going to pay a premium for some cases in a shorter amount of time, because you're doing all this stuff to invest in the relationships, to invest in the referrals, you're doing the gifting, you're doing all that stuff, but you still, like, next, if you need to start putting some cases on the board in month 6th, 7th, 8th out of the 12 months, there might be some direct response component. My initial reaction is to think LSAs, but without reviews, you're going to be a problem. And so it's like, are there other direct response channels to be in that aren't reviews wins most?
So I'll use, and I think this is a simplistic and inaccurate assumption, but SMB's numbers of putting 20% of your marketing, 20% of your dollars into marketing, that means you can generate matters if you're doing 500 grand at a cost of 20% of the value of your cases, which I think is probably pretty low, depending on what market segment you're in, what practice area you're in. But you're still you got 30 grand. You're doing a 4x, 5x, maybe 6x on direct response marketing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but recognize that you're talking about an incremental $150,000 absolute best case scenario with those direct response vehicles. I don't hate that, because honestly, direct response, I like being in that game. I like being part of that model. So play the game. But direct response is another way that you can go on this. Just understand that you're not talking about a massive volume of cases that can be directly attributed to this direct response channel.
The thing that the juxtaposition that we don't have time to do is to compare what we just did. You got $100,000 budget on a $500,000 firm at 20%. Just in the back of your head, think, all right, well, what if I'm only a 10% firm? Okay, so now you're down to $50,000 if you're a $500,000 firm, or $100,000 if you're $1 million firm. So you can play with those numbers. But I would like to compare it to what you presented at GLM compared to the 8-figure firm, because the 8-figure firm at 20%.
That's right.
The mix looks a lot different. And this goes to the root of the conversation. It's not fungible. It's not the same things for every growth stage. It's not the same thing for every growth objective. It's not the same thing for even different firms. Different firms are going to have different expenses inside the firm that don't look like other firms. It's not as neat and clean as saying, oh, well, this client acquisition cost is just like fits in these neat boxes and channels. Maybe some of this stuff, because like, okay, I'm just thinking about the execution of some of these campaigns. Like we didn't bake anything in for management or execution of any of this stuff. So we're just assuming the lawyers or someone that's in the 40% service bucket is going to be like, I'm managing the email list, or did we budget a little bit for email, but sending the gifts out, taking the people out. The people are actually the time of the people, the salaries of the people who are actually going to do the networking and the relationship development. And so again, I think this is the real thing for me that I wanted to demonstrate here is that it's really, you can't just apply these standard numbers across the board and be like, it works. And it's not the same. Those same first dollars are not the same as those last dollars, and they're highly dependent on timing and growth phase. And so we probably beat this horse to death. So thanks everybody for playing.
When we come back, we're going to answer a question about a rodeo.
And we're back, and we've got a big thank you to Allison Kitchell for leaving this review. My favorite legal business podcast, 5 stars. This podcast is as educational as it is entertaining. I particularly appreciate, as a small firm owner, how it helps me understand the broader legal market and the large firm side of my industry, but also has tactical information that I can implement to grow my firm. I particularly enjoyed the recent episode going back to basics on branding. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Allison, thank you for contributing fantastic questions, and thanks for being a listener of the pod. Conrad, over to you.
All right, Gyi, I have a question for you. This was submitted to me over LinkedIn. We're not going to talk about who actually asked the question because I didn't get his green light to do so.
Mailbag.
But Mailbag. This is Mailbag. So this was a response to a LinkedIn post. I'm gonna read the post, and then I'm gonna read the question that he asked me. 'Tis the season where Smith & Jones injury lawyers help sponsors the Father's Day Rodeo in my state. While getting our name out there is always part of the equation, this is one of my favorite events of the year. It brings together a few things I genuinely enjoy: horses, family, friends, and a chance to step away from the day-to-day and just take it all in. There's also something oddly satisfying about seeing a flag with our firm's logo moving through the grounds while everything else hums around it. Wishing everyone a Father's Day weekend free of briefs, filings, and all other lawyerly obligations. Okay, so I saw this and I wrote to Mr. Smith. You could and should generate a year's worth of awesome branded content with this. And he wrote back, I hadn't thought about that. What kind of thing would you do? So Gyi, not knowing who this law firm is, but knowing that he likes things like horses, family, and friends, and a chance to step away from the day-to-day and take it all in. What would you do with this, Gyi? How would you go from
Does
a
he
sponsorship?
Ride? Does he ride?
I'm going to say yes, based on the hat I'm looking at him wearing right now, but I may be painting with broad brushstrokes. So I don't know that he's in the rodeo.
I'd be like, sign up. We're buying tickets for people who want to come to the rodeo. I'd have media coverage of the rodeo. I'd have video. And
what do you mean by media coverage of the rodeo?
Like,
are we inviting a local ABC station?
If it's newsworthy and you can get a local news story to pick it up, but I'm talking about my own independent media coverage. Like I'm going to have a videographer maybe there.
Yes.
I'm going to have people doing interviews.
Who are you going to interview, Gyi?
All of my former clients that I invited and paid for their tickets to come talk about how awesome my firm is.
Okay. So we've got former clients. Anyone else that you would interview? This is not my road.
I'd get other rodeo community leaders, like, who organize. I'd get event organizers. I'd get, people that maybe there are influencers in the rodeo community that I can do co-marketing partnership types of things, rodeo micro influencers, some of the riders, maybe pictures with some of the other riders with former clients, really like do it up, like treat it like it's an event that your law firm's doing, and then publicize that online and get other people this is the affinity stuff we're talking about.
So when you say publicize, I'm leading questions here. When you say publicize it online, what would you do specifically?
I mean, I'd take videos. I think my biggest thing first it's the pre-event stuff, is I'd be doing a lot of the stuff we've talked about where I'm like, hey, we're going to be at this event. So-and-so's actually riding, ideally. We're doing a ticket giveaway, or maybe we're doing some kind of contest or something. We'd love to see you out there, enter to win tickets, enter to win dinner with the rider, something like that. I'm making something up.
Great.
Sign up here, QR codes, email.
Where's the sign up here go to, Gyi? This is one of your brilliant ideas, tactics. Where does one sign up to get the free tickets?
On my website.
Or on your Google business profile, right?
Well, that's the real real talk. Yeah, so we're giving away tickets. Search for my firm's name and look in our Google business profile images for a QR code to enter or to win, free tickets or whatever it is. And then, of course, make a big hubbubaloo about the giveaway. Maybe you do some press releases around the contest, so you get the local community really jazzed up on it. Maybe you find some other local publications that are covering the rodeo. Like there might be like a local rodeo website, micro influencers, get them all involved, then cover the event, and then push video content on all of your social channels, and ideally get the people that are at that are part of the giveaway to submit user generated content. Being like, maybe you tell like what rodeo means to you, publish that on your website and tag the firm, and we'll pick someone's best story about their best rodeo story to highlight or to give tickets to. That's part of the giveaway.
I know I ambushed you with this, and I've had plenty of time to think about it. So one of the things you mentioned,
I'm riffing, man.
I know, dude, I love it. This is you guys are all missing this stuff because it is low hanging fruit. It takes time, creativity, but it works. You mentioned micro influencers.
Well, again, to me, this you want to be recognized, right? So in the sea of assuming this is in a major market, because we haven't talked market, but in a sea of billboards and TV ads and radio that just basically say the same thing, the minute someone does a search, a non-brand search, they're going to recognize you immediately from the rodeo. I saw, oh yeah, that's the firm that gave us the tickets. That's the firm, that's the rider. That's the firm that did that contest, passionate about rodeo like we are. And so you become the lawyer of the rodeo community, even when people are searching in non-brand context. And this is this is the omni-channel power, because now you are contextually standing out across all of the email, social, search, yada, 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 and you're recognized for something beyond just like, I fight hard, or I'm the biggest law firm, or whatever else it is.
So I'm going to extrapolate a couple of the things that you said. The micro influencers become your marketing staff, right? And it really is micro influencers. It is people who are into the rodeo community in this specific location, right? You're not looking for thousands and thousands of followers. You're looking for people who are genuinely influential in that market and turning them into your cheerleaders. The next thing that I would add on top of this is your organic reach on social media is going to be constrained. It is going to be small. Having said that, it is very easy to find people in any given market who are really into horses, rodeos, cowboys, that type of thing. And I can target those people and then push that content in front of those people. And now I'm expanding my circle of influence. And the final thing that I would talk about is next year when the rodeo comes around, you want to be one of the people that the rodeo relies on to promote the rodeo. You want to become their cheerleader. And so a month before the rodeo starts, the Father's Day rodeo starts, you start taking this content that you've already pushed out on social media and you recycle it and use it again to promote the upcoming rodeo. It gives you 2 bites at the apple and it'll turn the rodeo into one of your favorite fans.
Love it. And tell people why you love the rodeo. You know, if it's a Father's Day story here, if it's like, my dad used to take me to the rodeo, tell that story, support it with video, get other people to start telling theirs. They'll create an environment where people want to tell their stories about their relationships with their dads or their relationships with the rodeo.
And it's the other people making other people shine that is so unbelievably important. And when you play that game, it wins. Now, in contrast to what we were talking about earlier, this is not going to turn into clients today. It is not going to create a client right now.
Once someone falls off the horse.
Oh, Jesus. What we did not do is suggest putting up horse accident lawyer, right?
.com. Horse accident lawyer Twitter handle. This is the game right here. You create a contest. We're going to pay for your rodeos thing and buy you dinner. Tell us, this is why rodeo is so important to us. It's a Father's Day story. Tell us why the rodeo is so important to you. Tag the firm, hashtag whatever the thing is. We're going to pick a winner from your best Father's Day rodeo story. I mean, that is money.
You know what? I'll tell you, this is a true story. This is a law firm I've wanted to work with for a very long time. They're not a client. And this is us being true to our brand. We don't push aggressive sales on anybody. And so this is what, I remember Jonathan Bell. We finally started working with Jonathan Bell maybe 4 or 5 years after I first met him. And I've stayed in touch very sheepishly. And we eventually this rodeo example is going to turn into a client sometime between tomorrow and 2031.
Awesome. And with that, we say thank you to Allison and all of our other listeners. The listeners submitted their question. If you have questions or topic suggestions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And if you just landed here and have no clue what is going on, go subscribe to Lunch Hour Legal Marketing on YouTube and Spotify and Apple, and follow us on all of your favorite social platforms. Till next time, Gyi and Conrad for Lunch Hour Legal Marketing.
Money makes a it makes a world go round. Money makes a world go round. Yeah, money make a world